Good evening, President Petrone, Vice President Hasty, members of the board, Superintendent Organishak, colleagues and guests. Last year, Dr. Rhonda Jones, who is starting her third year as Director of Pupil Services, provided you with a comprehensive presentation describing her job responsibilities. Among them were all facets of residency verifications. At that time, she spoke about a pilot program in which the district was going to undertake, and did, this past summer to verify the 2010-11 host family arrangements. The purpose of this time-consuming study was to gather information about our procedures for verifying host families, to learn more about the challenges for the district and for the families, and to inform our practice going forward. Tonight, having conducted the verification process this summer, Dr. Jones is ready to provide you with her findings. Dr. Jones.
Thank you, Dr. Simo. Good evening, President Petrone, Vice President Hasty, board members, Superintendent Organishak, administrators, and all others in attendance. I would like to provide you with an update on the host visiting family recertification process. This year, as mentioned by Dr. Massimo, earmarked the first of my department's annual recertification of our host process for visiting families. In preparation for this opportunity, there was a review of the process in collaboration with the superintendent, Dr. Massimo, and myself, along with the district's attorney, Jeff Kale, who provided information to strengthen the process, including the language in the application forms. Visiting families are defined as families residing with another family who would be the host, and the documentation presented to support this arrangement is provided by the host, which includes bills, lease agreement, bank statements, etc. This process entails both the visiting family and the host family presenting completed applications which are signed and notarized. Then a home visit takes place as the next step to verify the information in the application. Why did we do this? It's important for us to follow policy regarding residency and to determine the extent to which we are doing that through the host family process. In the past, once families accessed the district through the host process, their status was not reviewed again. This was an opportunity to gather information on this process and begin to address the perceptions which exist regarding many families attending school in our district without being a resident. Who are these families? The families who registered as a host family during the 2010-2011 school year were identified to go through this pilot process, a total of 199. Currently, there are a total of 445 host families registered in the district. So this was approximately 44% of the total group. In the past, these families were never asked for additional documentation. However, this summer, the expectation for visiting families was for them, after a year of living with the host, to be able to present some form of documentation supporting their current address. For example, pay stub, bank statement, driver's license, even various forms of junk mail. This process exists to support families living in a hardship situation and who need to register their children for school. There's no typical profile of families. Some are headed by a single female, while others are headed by the father and or both parents. There are some families with a single child and others with multiple children. One common denominator is that a large percentage of the families involve elementary age children. Taking a look at the table provided, there were 199 families registered in the host setting. They were sent a letter in April, written in both English and Spanish, advising them of the recertification process. The deadline for completing the process was noted as June 30th. 35 families responded to the letter and met the deadline. The attendance teachers started the home visit verification process beginning July 1st until the end of August and verified the residents of 85 families. During this time frame, it was noted that 16 families moved out of New Rochelle. 10 families were no longer living in host family situations and were living in their own residence. However, they had not been living there long enough to have bills in their names, so they were registered as families with no documentation. Again, home visits are utilized to validate their residence. 15 families were excluded. They were found to be living elsewhere outside of New Rochelle. 7 families were not verified. Our investigation was incomplete. Depending upon the findings, these families might be excluded. The next step was to notify schools of the families who had not been verified, a total of 31. These families were called personally by my staff and notified that they needed to come to my office. Out of these 31 families, 6 of them responded to the outreach, and the school was notified of the changes in their listing. Challenges faced. There were hopes by my office of having this process completed expeditiously within the first month of summer. However, we realized very quickly that people are difficult to locate during the summer months. It took multiple visits beyond the usual to most of the homes to verify residency. The team of attendance teachers quickly reverted to the strategy of visiting homes either very early in the morning and or late in the afternoon and during evening hours. Another challenge was the process was very time intensive and paper intensive with the newly created application form, and it overlapped with the regular operation of the office with respect to new families coming to the district who also needed a home visit. Additionally, the attendance teachers took vacation in August, and the limited personnel caused us to have a backup with regards to home visits at the beginning of the school year, when many people who need to access this process typically come to the office. There were people who were not happy with having to go through this process after a year and exhibited some hostility. Also, it was challenging coordinating time-sensitive information with the schools regarding these families. Benefits include early identification of families who have relocated and or have been excluded. Also, there's an increased awareness by families now of the annual process, which should make things smoother in the future. What would I do differently? I review the timelines to determine best fit for the process and its coordination with the schools, especially with respect to orientation information that's sent out from the schools. And look at changing the form. It is too cumbersome. Lastly, cost. Generally, there are 2 attendance teachers working during the summer months to follow up on the new registrants. The process involved 5 out of the 6 attendance teachers working last summer. The cost to the district was $7,683.68. 17,000, did I say 17,000? Oh, I'm sorry, $17,683.68. This concludes my update on the host visiting family certification process.
Thank you, Dr. Jones, and I recognize that this is a daunting process. I just want to understand, I think I do, but I just want to make sure I understand your starting point. The 199 that you've identified here, those were all 2010, 2011 registrants, right?
Yes.
So the newest.
The newest.
The newest.
Yes.
Okay. And you said we have about 445 total. I think
Right.
you said.
Yes.
So would that include the 199?
Yes.
Including them.
Yes.
Okay. So my question is, and you know, not why not, but just what is the plan, or is there a plan to recertify those other 246 or whatever net after the 199? Because obviously some of the 199s have been excluded. But it would seem to me that the older, longer, I won't even say older anymore, right? Bad joke tonight. The more long-term host families might be more in need of recertification. I could imagine. Okay, it's not a directive. It's my imagination, which is right. I could imagine that some of the longer-term host families might be more in need. Like that, didn't you? Appropriate for recertification. So my question is, do you have a plan to do that, or you're just going to do annual with the new ones this year? Where you go from here?
We have thought about that, and my thinking is that you're accurate with that perception that the older ones may be more in need of a review. And one of the things that we have thought about doing, we haven't done this yet, but is to try to just pick 20 to 25 of them at random and have some home visits done to see what we come up with. And but with regards to an actual plan, we would need more personnel,